There's something just fantastic and overwhelming when you have 6 people lined up all hitting the same thing. There's some mistakes in there, or it's a little loose, but that's not important. Like, perfection isn't important at that point. What's important is experiencing the energy of everyone playing together. The room is kind of this unifying agent sonically, but also becomes an active part of the overall sound.
Drumming seemed like a really natural fit for the Blue Men, since it is this sort of primitive character. In the early days of the show, you'd have the Blue Men drumming, but in terms of the band, it was typically a trio band, 1 drum kit player and then 2 string players. So a lot of the early drum kit parts were written to sound like a tribe, so that we could kind of create that feeling. I think most of us here at Blue Man aren't your typical, drum circle type guys, but we did want the group drumming and tribal sound, so it was interesting to kind of figure out what that would be for us, which usually meant adding a bunch of people, but orchestrating the parts, so it wasn't just a free-for-all. And we definitely started to discover that the sound of 6 people or 10 people playing the exact same thing in unison, to say it sounds huge, that's like sort of an understatement, although you have to work a lot to capture it right.
There's a bunch of songs on the album that have 2 drummers playing, and same thing. We could have recorded them separately and had it more isolated, maybe a little clean, but the energy when you put 2 Blue Men drummers together, it creates something, and you work together. Like, it was actually really fascinating, the natural tendencies of these 2 drummers on this one song. One tended to always play ahead of the beat, because that was just his natural thing, and that energy was his go-to. The other guy was always sitting behind the beat, and we spent about a half a day bringing them together, holding what worked on both, but bringing them together to one place, and then it took about 2 takes and we had it.
Just the excitement of playing next to somebody, and you get a little nervous and you hope they're gonna get it right, and you hope you're gonna get it right, and you hope it's gonna sync up but still sound fat, and the feel is right. It's a great thing to be a part of, and I don't know, many other bands or groups that do something like this.
Performances generally are so exciting when you're seeing the collaboration of people working together. Whenever we could get people playing together, the more we could get that, the better, because that energy is a large part of what you experience when you see a Blue Man Group show. And frankly, it's just kind of exciting. Like, there's a little mess in there sometimes. There's a little bit of, stuff isn't perfect, but the energy is what you're connecting to.
And the show is about connecting the audience with the performers and with each other, so that we can all kind of feel like we're one tribe and having the same shared experience. And the tribal drumming is like a little subtext of that, where we're doing it amongst ourselves as the musicians.
I think we kind of have a general go-to as to what a drum army position station would be, which is like, it's 2 toms and a snare, and the snare drum is usually tuned very below marching snare, and it's a little bit fat and a little bit ugly sounding, but that's kind of what makes it work.
That arrangement of drums is sort of a Blue Man thing that we've done for many years. It's nice because you sort of have these 2 voices that are similar on the outside, and you get a nice visual picture. And that's always a big part of it with Blue Man, in addition to what the songs, what the parts are and the chord changes and all that stuff, but how does it look visually when people are playing it? So the song Robots on the record is one of my favorites, because to me this concept theatrically is reflected in the song, where it kind of starts out as this almost mournful look, at life and where we might be heading with our robot overlords, kind of descending upon us here. but the music is all live stringed instruments and live people drumming, and then there's a point in the song where the robots take over. And I think it's really interesting, and I think it comes off pretty clearly where, you know, you have the Blue Men and their tribe, and then all of a sudden they take a back seat. I don't think it's too heavy-handed, you know? You don't hear any synthesizer voices saying like, you know, out of the way, Blue Men, we are going to take over the music now, but you really hear it. I mean, the change is really noticeable.
A lot of electronic elements have become part of the vocabulary of the music of Blue Man, and it was inevitable in the compositions that there was going to be this marriage between electronic sounds and live sounds. And what I wanted to do was try and sort of embrace the process that works best for both of those elements.
I think it's a really nice blending of sounds.
I really wanted to capture live performances, and so most of what you hear on the album is live.